Get in the chat at least too.
I don't know what to do, Chase. We got a celebrity with us. We have Cheap Ass Gamers'
Yes.
very own winner chicken dinner. Jiggy, how are you?
Victory Royale, feeling good.
Welcome back to the show. It's nice to have you on screen rather than on the sidebar here chatting with us.
It's great to be back on. Thank you for inviting me again.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing your Sega Dreamcast and Sega Genesis. It's nice of them to join us.
Super Famicom, Wii U.
Sure, absolutely.
PlayStation 3 there, an N64, a Super Nintendo.
What's the red box on the top shelf there?
The red box on the top shelf
right above your head.
Right above my head. That Sega Saturn, that is the HSS 0141, which is this bad boy right here.
Oh shit!
Yes.
Okay.
The analog steering wheel for the Sega Saturn. One of the beauties of owning a Saturn is all the nice little toys you get with it too. But now I'm not financially stable, so.
Well, who is?
Yeah.
In this economy,
it's getting close to my time for a deep dive episode, and I was thinking about maybe bringing back some of the show and tell hardware stuff. So always interested in seeing some fun little hardware. I've got an idea of what I'm going to do, but that's a ways away.
Very cool. Jiggy, we are thrilled to have you here. We've got a really fun episode tonight. It's our February preview. Johnny is on assignment, but who really cares? If you've never tuned in for a if you've never tuned in for a monthly preview episode, the way that we do this, we tell you about the games that we've been playing. We do a quick recap of the games we picked for the prior month, and then we will run down the games that we find interesting. This is not all the games out there, but this is off of the Internet Games Database, I believe on Wikipedia is where we pull from. Correct, Chase?
Some of that. I know that's not comprehensive, so I also go to Game Informer.
Nice.
I've used Games Radar before. I'll go to the eShop just on the Switch and just see if there's any shovelware that doesn't look as shovelly, and I'll add that here too. So it's a good mix, but it's also curated down. There's no way we could talk about every single game that comes out in a month. So it is. Hey, these are the ones that I think are interesting for us to talk about, and or ones that we might actually be somewhat interested in.
Awesome. So we'll be going over those, and then at the end of that, we'll give you our top picks for the month of February. Typically, we go Chase, me, Johnny. Do we want to mix any order up for our what you've been playing tonight?
I would say we have a guest. We should the guest goes first, right?
Guest rules, yeah.
All right, Jiggy, what have you been up to?
Wow, man. What do you want to hear first? Like, what old game do you want to hear the most about? Because I know we all been playing a new game. Thanks to Chase for me participating in said new game, but we'll probably get to that in a little bit. Thank you for feeding my addiction too. No, I'll start with fucking Okami, baby, on the PlayStation 2.
Nice.
I read a funny tweet today about Okami from Mike Minotti. Talking about one Jeff Grubb, friend of the show.
I think I read this tweet too, but please enlighten our audience.
So like the tweet was Jeff saying, I didn't get into Okami, and Mike saying, yeah, neither did I. And then Jeff going, yeah, I didn't, I wasn't even able to make the first shape. And Mike goes, what? And I gotta say, I'm not too far past where Jeff got. I definitely made the first couple shapes, but then I think I realized this is an Ocarina of Time, and I don't necessarily like 3D Zelda games, so I stopped playing it pretty soon after.
It's an Ocarina of Time times like 3 or 5, because it's like 40 hours long. I'm only like 15 hours. Yeah. Back to where I started this game, like way back in the day. I bought this like in college, lost my copy, and came across an extra copy at one of my local stores that it was like, I think it was like $15 or something like that. So it's like, oh yeah, I got to pick this up and get back into it. And I kind of know what the area probably Jeff got stuck in, because I watched some friends on their stream, Life Begins at 8-Bit. They were in they go month by month, they go year by year. So one month it's 1999, and then the following month it's 2000, and they'll play the games from that year, that month. And they got up to when did this come out? It was like 2006 or 7 or something like that, I believe.
Around there.
Yeah. And then I got the HD remake. What, like
and they got the HD
6
remake
years ago?
now too. Yep. And I believe they played it on PlayStation 2, and this is my copy as well too. I got to play it on PlayStation 2. It looks great, but they got stuck on early on in the game. There's like a 40-minute kind of intro.
What is the first shape you draw? Is it the circle for the sun, or is it like just a straight slash?
No, it's actually painting in the pathway on this like river of dreams that you have to cross, and you basically they fix paintbrush stroke that you use in certain areas of the game. So like if something is broken or missing, you'd be able to like basically like pick it up or like make something new of that. And it's kind of a little obtuse. You just gotta brush across the screen. But for those who aren't familiar with Okami, like during pretty much any point in the gameplay, you can pause the action and you get this giant brush that you control with one of the analog sticks and make certain designs. So slash is like one of the main ones that you get early on and are used in like a lot of battles, a lot of things in the environment. And yeah, just the way that's implemented it's amazing. Like I look at it and I'm like, how are they doing this, like drawing 2D shapes in a 3D environment and doing that just on the fly every time during the game? Like it's kind of magic. Like I'm so curious on how they did that and how they pulled it off.
Okami walked so Chicory could run.
Pretty much. And yeah, Chicory is a game I need to play as well too. I've seen other streamers play
very
that
good.
and it looks very wholesome. This game though is like Chase said, much more of a Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and it is very much that. You are doing a lot of fetch quests. Like I feel like that is probably one of the majority aspects of this game outside of like the combat arena style games that are think of like Legend of Zelda 2 Adventures of Link. Like you go up to an enemy.
I prefer not to.
Okay, fine. That's okay. Not everyone's perfect.
Skip that one, please.
Filler. Okay. But yeah, no, like enemy encounters are usually done in this like combat arena, and this is by Clover, so it's like the Beautiful Joe would go on to do. It's almost like Platinum and stuff like that too, like Bayonetta and.
Yeah,
like
I was going to say it's almost like a Devil May Cry, where it's okay, you are locked in, and now you are fighting now, and once you finish this fight, then you can go back to whatever you were doing before.
But in like Devil May Cry, you're still in like the level itself and using the actual like level design and layout. This is like it encloses you in a circle, and you can escape if you don't really want to fight. But yeah, it's pretty much like just face these enemies, and sometimes it's random, sometimes it is a standard set of enemies. And yeah, you're using like the slash a lot, or other like brush strokes used in the game, like doing a bomb is like doing a circle with a little line out the top, and you know a bomb is placed for like puzzles and stuff like that. I just find the whole game fascinating. I'm only like 15 hours in. This is something I'm not playing on stream because it's just one I just kind of just vibe with, and just I'm just gonna run around and do this quest line quickly, and you know while I'm doing something else, watching something else. And yeah, there's so much character in the game. It looks gorgeous.
It's a looker
for a PS2
for sure.
game. Oh my goodness! Even like on a CRT, it's so vibrant, and like everything looks like it's done in this like watercolor ink. It's absolutely incredible. I adore this game. I can't wait to like beat it and finish it.
That's
now
awesome.
You're playing this on the Sony PlayStation 2.
I am.
I played this on the Nintendo Wii, which is a slightly different experience.
Yeah, how is the motion controls on that?
They're fine, but I have a feeling Jeff might have also played it on the Wii, considering his statements, because
maybe
the original Wii, not the best motion tracking.
No.
I don't know if you know that. They had to kind of make a whole new little thing to make it work. It's fine. It doesn't feel very, on one hand, it feels like it should be incredibly intuitive. Okay, now you just like hold, I think you hold a thing on the nunchuck and then you just like make your motion with the
it's like the same on
thing.
PlayStation 2. You press hold R1, and even during like moments like cutscenes where it's sort of like a quick time event, there are moments where you're like, oh, you should be drawing circles around these blossoms, but you got to do it fast and you fail. It's not like a game over. You just have to do it over again, or you got to slash these enemies for this guy who's fighting to make it believe like he's actually fighting and stuff like that.
And the imprecision of the Wiimote just was not super conducive, even though it felt like it should be.
Yeah,
and I think that was probably a big contributing factor in why I didn't get super far into that game. Have either of you played the Nintendo DS sequel, Okami?
I have not. No. I own it. But that's kind of something I want to lead into eventually. After being Okami, I want to go to that DS game.
That seems perfect, right? Like that seems like the perfect melding of, okay, it's still, not motion exactly, but the touchscreen controls you're drawing, but you have the more precision of being able to just draw with a stylus on a touchscreen. Things should go easier. I don't remember that game getting the best of reviews, but at least the core gameplay loop seems like it should be a lot more consistent.
I'm honestly surprised we have not seen an iOS Android port of this game yet, considering like what other games we've seen there that are even action platformers that require a lot more input, but having the ability, I think, to draw on your screen would be beneficial here in an interesting way. Like I
think it'd be tough because it's not just drawing. It's because it is a Zelda game in every other sense of the world, that you have to be doing other things with those buttons. So even if you had a backbone controller thing on your iOS device and were able to do the touchscreen stuff for the painting part, you'd still need to like get your hand back to the buttons to be able to do your dodges and things like that.
I think
that'd be a tough control scheme. Even though in theory it sounds good.
Unless you do it like all touch, like Phantom Hourglass, Legend of Zelda, Spirit Tracks, that kind of setup.
I wouldn't suggest that.
I think I'm also surprised a little bit by the staying power that this game has. Like, it's certainly impressive, and like I've not beaten it myself, but I've played quite a bit of it. But there is a reverence around this game. I mean, hell, like it's a Palmute in Monster Hunter Rise can be skinned the same way, and like there's
for never getting like a proper console sequel. Like it got this kind of mini sequel on a handheld platform, but you're right, Bobby. It has this cultural cachet to it that Amaterasu has shown up in different forms here or there. There's a part of me that feels the same way about Okami that I feel about something like Dead Space or Mirror's Edge. Of this was a big company going, okay, we're gonna do something cool and different. Here's like a brand new IP that's really artistic, and then they kind of did even less than EA did with either of those other franchises. But still,
I look at it more like in the same way I would look at like the impact that like a game like Journey has had. Like I see a very simpler like following to it, and like even now you're starting to see, well, same dev, but like some of the like scarves and stuff from Journey have made their way to other games. I don't like this game seems like it does have quite a bit of a cultural impact for a game that, like, I didn't hear people talk about this the same way I did like a Zelda game. Like, even though it might be cribbing or like
there are people who say it's a better Zelda game than.
Well, I don't disagree with that, but I mean, culturally, like when you look across the, like, it did not have
that staying power.
Yeah, and I think that the people who are into it are super into it, and even the HD remake, I think, garnered new folks to check it out, which is cool. Like, I mean, that's the first time I played it. Like, I completely missed playing this at the time that it came out, and I am a massive Zelda fan. But with that being said, I still think it's awesome to see this game isn't going away, despite what we just mentioned with like Zelda being more popular. One of those games that it was still going after. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I mean, they certainly keep releasing this game. Like you can get this game on the Nintendo Switch if you want. They're not going to make an Okami 2 or.
Well, I mean, the Switch and the PS2 are pretty close in power,
that.
so I mean, I'm not surprised.
Nice,
like,
well done, good job.
Thank you.
Bet you're proud of that one.
Yeah, low hanging fruit, you know.
That's the lowest. That's a good one. Jiggy, what else you been playing?
Oh man. Well, let me just quickly, because you pointed out the big red box behind me. Yeah. I've been playing a little bit of Sega Rally Championship on the Sega Saturn. It's pretty much like a standard like rally type of racing game. I can't really say much other than like playing with the racing wheel is just so fucking awesome. I love this thing.
Yeah, man.
That adds to the experience quite a bit.
This racing wheel, the what did I say? It was the HSS 0141.
Hold that up again. Can I see the base of it?
Oh yes.
So you can slide. You can slide your legs over it, right? You kind of straddle it.
Yep. And there's
there's
no pedals. Yeah. There's a lock-in mechanic, so you can raise and lower, and then lock it in. It's very like metal base, very cool. Very chunky. It's got these flippers on the back, so for like the L and R buttons, which are basically for like shifting. So I usually always play in manual when I'm playing with like a steering wheel.
Yeah, you got yourself it just feels right. Paddle gearbox right there.
It does, and also it also, because it's analog, it kind of like snaps back into place like a real steering wheel for the most part. Sega Rally Championship, on the other hand, man, that is a chunky ass looking Saturn game, and I love it for that. The textures are extremely like these just like those super thick lines that you see in like some like hatch kind of patterns and stuff like that. 2D models for like the crowds and everything. You're slipping and sliding in this game too, because that's kind of what rally driving is kind of like. Like you're taking corners.
I mean, you're not going full Ridge Racer, drifty, slidey, but
no, you are shifting, like instead of like power sliding, you're using the shift buttons like to like lower your speed so you can take a nice hard turn over like a medium left. You have a guy like your co-pilot like in a rally racing telling you, "Yep, there's like hairpin turn, easy jump, maybe easy right." Like all that stuff. It's fucking fantastic. I use this to play like also what was it, Daytona USA. What else? I have like one of the F1 racing games as well too with this. Just vibing with like a little bit of racing in between.
Hell yeah. That was Sega Rally Championship. What else have you been up to, man?
Well, I just wanted to bring like two things that are kind of Twitch related.
Yeah.
I watched someone play this Animal Crossing murder mystery, which is called Animal Crossing New Murder. The streamer was C Party. Their streamer is C with a E with a 3. And they play a lot of like murder mystery, like Nancy Drew type games and stuff like that. And there is a sort of, it's not a mod, but think about it as an Animal Crossing mod. And this, I have to look up the user on Twitter again who designed this because they definitely deserve a shout out.
Which version of Animal Crossing is it based off of?
This is New Horizons, so the latest one on Switch. And so Animal Crossing New Murder, New Horizon. They are Nen. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Think like Nen, like the first N, like in El Nino, like Nen. Jen Padilla, at Jen Padilla Art on Twitter is where you can find her, and she has it pinned on their, like on their Twitter page. But basically, they made you guys would be familiar in Animal Crossing New Horizons, the dream sort of connections. You visit other islands. They made an island that has a murder setup. Like it is a murder scene.
All right.
You go there, and at the same time, you play in a browser with this basically like this browser game that they set up, and you play it like kind of in tandem while you're going around the island. Then you prompt in this browser what the like characters are saying that are on the island. The various like Apollo's there.
Mm-hmm.
Who's
That's
the
good
Sphinx?
villager right there.
Yeah, who's the Sphinx cat?
Shit, she's also on my island.
Yeah.
Fuck.
The
Go ahead, I'll remember.
the rhino with the strawberry for the nose.
Shortcake.
Shortcake.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
She's
yeah,
great.
just a bunch of these characters. Think of it like as a Ace Attorney kind of visual novel type game, and it's about like an 8-hour, like a 6 to 8 hour experience trying to go through the whole thing. I'll throw
Anka, that's right.
Anka, that's it. I'll throw the link to what it is in the chat.
Oh, sweet.
acnewmurder.com/play. And
That's
basically
really
you go
cool.
there, you follow the instructions, and you go to basically you load up the dream island in your own Animal Crossing game, and pretty much just follow along, finding clues, and then going through the story of like who murdered in quotes, because they weren't actually murdered. It was kind of like a beating, but it's like just like the writing and the animations that they did in their own browser to like this whole murder mystery are just like super cute, adorable, and it's like sad and super sweet at the same time. It's like it's something else.
There's this cottage industry of people who have taken Animal Crossing New Horizons and just done some really cool things with it.
And that's what I wanted to highlight, because this to me is just absolutely fascinating.
Because we saw things early on with Animal Crossing of people trying to like make little games within, like there was a race where people were using you brought in people to your island, and they built like this maze race that people would have to go through. Nintendo did like an official one for what holiday was it? Was it May Day or something like that, where you could go to a separate island, and it was like a little puzzle thing that you didn't have any of your tools, but when you'd get tools on it was almost like an Eventide Island kind of thing, where you come to this without anything, and you have to use these tools to like, oh, I got the axe now I can cut down this tree, which means I can sit on the stump and then get over to this other side, to this place that was unreachable before, and find different pieces of equipment to get yourself out of the maze. So like those were really early examples. And then I still watch some of them. There are some YouTube videos where people have done some really incredible interior design stuff, where not only are they taking the design pieces that are intended, but they're also using unintended techniques to find ways of making this really cool stuff. Like there's some people who made like a big grocery store in the middle of their island, and what they did is they used the display cases for trophies, and they flipped them around because it was just this really tall item. So this tall, now like a blank white space, and then they were able to stack them because they used the different layering tools. And so you got to a point of like, wow, this actually looks like an impressively big building that you made out of just these separate pieces, and a lot of that stuff I found super fascinating. So to hear that somebody took it a step further and said, hey, we built this browser thing that kind of goes over the top of what's in the game, and we're finding even further ways to play, I think that's really cool.
I'm telling you, man, they could have easily built off of that. They could have done exactly what they did with Minecraft, where Minecraft... I mean,
I'm sure the reason that something like this is out here is because Nintendo has more or less abandoned the game, and so you have other people go, we'll have to pick up the slack, and now, Isabelle tweets every once in a while.
million copies or something like that. So it's like, like when you get a game as popular as this, it's like, it always fascinates me how other people like kind of augment after like they've finished the game and they want more of it. And yeah, this is
Nintendo though
amazing to me.
They have to have some numbers behind some of that, or some data that goes, okay,
Nintendo doesn't have
that people play Animal Crossing for 1 year and then they stop playing. And I stopped playing more or less after. That's not true. I played more after the first year, but I played pretty hardcore that first year.
We can see your hour count.
You did something that like augmented your experience too. You took a photo every day in Animal Crossing. Like,
yeah, but
those
that was
like,
also. I didn't do that right away, did I?
You did
it
it
was
right
something
away.
you planned, and it's something like
Yeah.
not like part of the game itself. Like it's
Okay.
its own experience that you made personal for the game.
Yeah.
And like in the same way, I see that like this like new murder mystery thing is like kind of the same way. Like it fascinates me to no end.
Yeah, but
Oh,
I agree, Bobby. I think it would have been
I didn't
awesome
even.
if
I didn't
Nintendo
get to
said,
finish it. What I was saying.
Please finish. I'm sorry, I
Yes, please.
anticipated.
It's okay. Go ahead.
I don't know. Please finish your thought.
What I was trying to say was that Minecraft has done events like this where they've put out not only skins but items that you can build into the environment, and you can have basically people are doing the same thing. I mean, Roblox has technically gone down that path in a really gross way, but I think that Nintendo could have easily looked at seasonal events tied into other game release. Like there could have been a Fire Emblem thing for like outfits that tied in and, you know, celebrated their other stuff. Like they could have easily done things to let you buy outfits for characters of other Nintendo franchises you like. They could have added more.
And old Animal Crossing games kind of have done that. You could buy the fucking R-Wing. You can't do that in New Horizons, but you could in the first fucking Animal Crossing.
I think that that's the whole point, is that I'm just really surprised. Like I'm not one for like over like live service monetization of games, but at the same time, this is like, I look at The Sims. Like The Sims has done a great job adding seasons and events into it, and there's not been a game I feel that has brought more people together at a really opportune time like than this game. Like this is such a weird, incredible thing, and to see people doing cool shit like this, I wish they had more tools to like take it to the next level.
Yeah, like they had this foundation. Oh, I'm sorry. Have you finished your thought? May I?
No, it's okay. I just, I mean,
Okay.
you just like talked right over me when I was like mid conversation on that. It's okay.
Cool. Yeah, cool.
It wasn't, but it's okay.
It happens over there.
But like Nintendo had this great foundation, and you had this player base, and the only thing of real substance they did was give us basically Happy Home Designer again with some extra options on top of it. But the idea that you had people's attention and you could have brought anything to this, Nintendo's not going to make a murder mystery for Animal Crossing, but they could certainly do like a Halloween event that gestures at that and then pulls a Firewatch or something and goes, no, everybody was actually fine, whatever, it wasn't a supernatural thing. Or make it a supernatural thing. You have a fucking ghost in the game who does stuff,
and you can bring in Luigi.
Sure, absolutely. Why not? Yeah, you could do so many different things with that, and the idea that they just kind of let it go is disappointing.
Yep,
for sure.
Jiggy, thank you for making us go down what Animal Crossing could have been.
Hey, man. As someone who has not played that much Animal Crossing.
Yeah, this is probably a cool way to play it. Chase has not played much.
Before we get into our big game that we've all been playing, I just want to mention this one thing that came across me on Twitch. It's called Watch Me Forever. Have you guys come across this
Watch Me Forever
generated Seinfeld episode?
Oh yes. Bobby was texting about that earlier today.
My fucking god, this fucking thing is just like it's hard to describe, but it's just like an AI bot basically writing the episodes of Seinfeld with like the main forecast of characters,
and not just writing it, but
and it's animated too, like at the same time.
Animated's a strong word, but yeah,
like, animated for a bot. It just like how this like comes to be. Don't check it now because watch us, but there's the link to this.
Holy cow.
fucking thing. And my god, like I'm torn. At one part I'm just like, fuck AI shit, but at the other end of this I'm like, well, every Seinfeld episode has been made, so they're never going to make any more, so just fucking have at it.
Don't tell that to the Seinfeld current day Twitter account. He's trying to get Mr. Beast to fund. Hey, if Mr. Beast can cure blindness from 1,000 people, he can buy another episode of Seinfeld. God damn it. Jesus.
Anyway.
I think that thing is neat. I mean, you're not going to click on that link and go, oh wow, it's a new episode of Seinfeld. But
no,
it is.
The jokes are terrible, but that's pretty much the charm of this. There's an
anti-humor to it. Yeah. It's an AI bot about nothing, that's for sure.
But they do like a small little like in between episodes is like the preview channel shows up from like back in the 90s and early 2000s, like that kind of shit. Like, oh, here's the TV Guide channel, fucking what's coming up next, and it's all just randomly generated names and things like that for TV and stuff like that. But they also do like Jerry doing his stand-up bit between like the beginning and end of the episode and things like that, and attempts at doing the segue baseline music and things like that. It's just fucking wild. I love it.
What a time.
My new favorite thing. I know that wasn't video game related, but still, just like in the essence and effervescence of video game stuff on Twitch, it's certainly something.
Well, speaking of semi-incoherent stories that could basically be written by an AI, Fire Emblem, Engage.
Yeah, that's the other game.
I think AI could probably write a better story.
Oh,
it's I mean, I don't think anybody's coming to Fire Emblem Engage for the story, or they're not staying for the story. That's for sure.
I mean, I'm liking some of the conversations. They're silly as fucking hell, but they're dumb, and I'm laughing at them because they're so stupid.
The more I play it, the more it really does feel like an anniversary. We put the kitchen sink in here, and that means everything has to be relatively thin to get it all in there, especially from a story perspective. We were talking about this before hitting live, hit record. We don't what the fuck do you call it? Going live, I guess. Whatever the fuck.
Streaming.
Before we started streaming on Twitch tonight, and we talked about how Three Houses has a pretty good story, all things considered, or at least the beats of the story, the motivation for why you're doing stuff. It's pretty strong, pretty cool. Having the time skip, I think, adds a lot to it. You have this story that kind of does take some twists and turns on you, and then having the 3/4 different routes, and I guess kind of 5 with the Ashen Wolves. You have there are different layers to that. Like we did a spoiler cast on my other podcast, Gamers on the Go, where we talked about our different playthroughs, because the different routes go very differently. Not just because, hey, this army won instead of that army, but the story that they tell ends up being quite different. Which I think is cool. And this game goes, what if you were a good dragon and you fought a bad dragon? And that's kind of it. I will say,
Fire Emblem.
I'm about 60 hours in at this point. I'm pretty close to the ending. I think I only have 2 or 3 missions left. And I've also been doing a lot of side stuff. It does not take you 60 hours to play this game if you play like a normal human being. I'm not a normal human being, especially when it comes to Fire Emblem. But they try to do a couple things in the mid and especially the late game that undercut that pretty cookie cutter story. It's still not going to be knock your socks off amazing. It's not going to make up for the standard boringness of that beginning part of the story. The premise is not being saved.
It is thin, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think that also extends to the characters. Now again, I know I like to shit on everything. I love this game. I will say this.
The strategy is some of the best the series has been in a long time.
It's got so many cool options. There's so much to think about strategically. If you're playing the game on a harder difficulty, I think it really does some cool things to test you and to force you to use some of those things. And even if you're playing on a lower difficulty, I think it's still just fun. It's still just fun to go around and think about how to play in different forms and fashions, and going, oh, what if I tried this combination? And more often than not, that it has some cool synergies that you can play around with. The thing that has been bugging me the most is how thin not just the story is, but how thin the characters are. Yep. And you see this in a number of Fire Emblems, because these games have the concept of permadeath. You can't really build a story or even the supports that this game has, where you fight alongside each other and gain enough friendship points to be able to have like a little side conversation. You can't make any of those things too deep or interesting, because that character might have died. I'm actually interested to see how some of the story stuff works if you let some of these Lord characters, like not your main character, because if your main character dies, you have to start over anyway, but like you have like a number of princes and princesses on your team, so if those people die, those people show up in the story a lot more often. I wonder who fills out those spots, or if they get filled out at all. But the supports specifically are just a bunch of nothing. Everybody has to speak in the most general of generalities. Here's an example. These are two early characters, Alchrist and Diamant, who are the princes of Brodia, which is the second place that you go to. Both of them are princes. They're brothers. And their supports with each other all talk about how, hey, one day we're gonna run Brodia, and we're gonna have to do some stuff. Here's gonna be a slight spoiler for some people. I think you both are past this, but Brodia has a king. Brodia's king dies in the story.
Oh no!
Yeah. So these two, Diamant specifically, is going to be the king of Brodia, is the king of Brodia for all intents and purposes, but because you get him and his brother before the king dies, all the supports talk about, hey, one day you and I are going to have to run this ourselves. And they're like, dude, your dad's dead. You do run this shit. The conversation you should be having with this guy should be way more about, oh, how am I going to run this place? How can you help me run this place? What are the things I've got to do? But the game can't do that, because it's possible that you grinded the support for these two characters completely before the moment that other character dies. So they're just handcuffed by this. Now, Fire Emblem Three Houses, I think, had a way to kind of get around this with the time skip of, here's a section where we know all this stuff has happened before, and so now we can comment on all that stuff knowing that they're still alive at this point. And that helped it a little bit. And this game just doesn't have that. So it ends up being a character going, well, I'm the one who sings, so all my supports are going to be about how I'm singing and I annoy somebody. And then the next stuff is about how I want them to sing too, and they're against it. And then the third one is, I only want you to sing. It's not because I'm embarrassing you. It's because I think you're a cool person. I think we should sing together. And they go, oh, you know what? You're right. Let's sing. And that's it. That's their support. And it's just boring. It adds to the thinness of the story that is already super generic and doesn't give you anything to hold on to other than this character is one or two tropes, and they will say those one or two tropes the entire time.
I agree. I think
it's pretty shallow.
It's been hard to devote time to it. Not that I need like a big fucking epic story here, but I do think out of a lot of the Nintendo games that they make, or at least behind, this is one where it's got all the trimmings to be an epic. It has everything that it could be something like, dare I say, when it was good, like Game of Thrones-esque when it comes to just like house. Like, I mean, I think that's why I like Three Houses as much as I did. There was a stake that like you meet these characters at a point where it's like, what the fuck happened to them? Like, how did they get to this point? And I think that's really interesting. I had issues, as we've talked about at length, with how much time you had to spend in between the battles, but there was a better handling of getting to know the people that you were sharing the battlefield with. I don't play these games with permadeath, but I certainly would get upset if I lost somebody in a battle because I appreciated having them out there and what they did. And like, it wasn't just, oh, there's my paladin-esque character, like that is so and so. Like it had a weight to it. And I think that's really caused a rift for me with this. Like it is a fantastic strategy game. And in our quick look, you called it chess as an RPG. But I'll have to say is like, I want to care more about these pieces than just this is a knight, this is a pawn when I'm playing this game. Like I want to have a team that like I care about, that I send out there, that works well together, that builds bonds together, that I feel tell the story in my own little way better. And it's caused me to feel like this disconnection when I'm waiting for things to click with either the characters, because that's the other thing. Like it could be a shit story with good characters. I kind of feel at this point where I'm at, which is like 13 hours, it's a shit story with some less than stellar characters. There's a few that shine really bright, but overall,
But even the brightness that you're talking about, like the brightness that you get out of there is mostly character design, voice actor, and whether you like their one or two tropes. Whether you're like, oh, this is the girl who says folk food a lot and she eats weird stuff, but isn't that endearing about her? And if you think so, then yeah, absolutely it is. And I think she's got a nice design. She's got nice blue hair. She rides a Pegasus. Cool. I like this character.
She watches you sleep.
She watches you sleep. Yeah, that's true. She does do that. There are a couple of people who watch you sleep. It's a interesting thing.
I just find like all the conversations, like you said, like they are paper thin and shallow, but to me it's just, this is kind of how always Fire Emblem has been too. Like at sometimes it takes itself super serious, at other times it's just extremely goofy and very silly. Like I don't know, there's always been this push and pull between those two aspects in terms of like the story and the characters. And like you said, Chase, they kind of write themselves into a corner because you can't have like a story centered around like characters that can actually die and then like, oh, there's got to be big plot points. They could do that. It would take forever to code all the variables
Totally.
of doing something like that. The nice thing about Three Houses was like if you got characters that were like in a different house and they joined you like partway through the story and then later on during the time skip, like you would see those variances and they were small and slight, but they still kind of meant something when those happened. So like, yeah, it like I think like if Nintendo and an intelligence system want to really dial in a super serious story, they have to cut back on the number of characters. They have to focus on the story being like not saying it doesn't have to be epic or grand, but maybe like focus the setting on one specific area, get into like the political intrigue, get into like the motivations of said characters, and when someone dies, like if you're doing a permadeath run, because they do the casual runs now too, where people don't die. Like
that, and I think that's the problem is that Fire Emblem is now not what it used to be. It used to be one thing, and now it has to be a lot of different things because a lot of different people come to Fire Emblem for a lot of different reasons. And I'll admit, I don't like the permadeath at all. That is one aspect of Fire Emblem I've never liked, and it makes it really hard for me to go back to games that Fire Emblem games before they implemented casual mode. Because I don't like the idea of losing progress. It's my least favorite thing in video games. It's why I don't like Dark Souls. So the idea of, well, I can either let this character die and lose out on a bunch of potential stuff with them going forward in a story sense or even a gameplay sense, or I can hit reset and play this chapter again and play it quote unquote correctly to keep that character alive. And to me, that's just okay. Well, then I wasted half an hour on the mission that I've already been playing. But you have so many different people who play Fire Emblem for different reasons that I don't think intelligence systems can easily implement any of these things. It's really hard.
Maybe like on a casual run, it's just that story. Like you keep all the characters and that's the story how it runs. But on like say a permadeath run, like characters that die change up the story as you play, so that might give an incentive to people who like you never play on permadeath, like be like, well, what if it's like, you know, like the suicide run at the end of Mass Effect 2 is like, how different is this going to affect Mass Effect 3? You know, that had its own shortcomings, but whatever.
Right, and that also didn't have 36 playable characters. Like Mass Effect had like 8 or whatever, and then only a handful of those even rolled over to the next game, and they kind of just had they had to do all sorts of cop outs for Mass Effect of, oh, this guy's over here in this corner, and if he died, well, it's actually this other guy, and we're just kind of like palette swap them. Did you decide to kill Rex? Okay, now it's a different Krogan who basically is Rex in everything but name, and now you talk to him. So they had to make all sorts of little concessions for that, and that was a game that had a lot fewer complexities in terms of characters than something like Fire Emblem, where it's like, okay, it's not just 8 strings we have to deal with, it's 36 strings. So I totally agree. I think if they made a Fire Emblem with 8 characters, maybe you could do something like that, but they're also not going to do that because Fire Emblem Heroes is out there, and you got to sell all 36 of these motherfuckers to people like me who are going to pay for all these motherfuckers. Which I
had the same realization because I was watching my niece and nephew today, and my nephew is like obsessed with cars right now, and it's so fascinating.
Cars the movie Cars.
Cars the franchise Cars, like the movie franchise, and like he just like, oh, let's watch like the movies because you know that'll keep him busy while he plays with his cars, and I can watch his like younger sister. But like it's like how the marketing push between like Cars movies, like we got to put as many cars in this thing as we can to sell these toys to these kids. We got to give Mater like 8 different outfits in just this one scene so we can sell 8 different toys. And I see like Fire Emblem is running into that same thing too. Like, oh, we got to get like more characters so we can sell the figurines and get more people to play Fire Emblem Heroes. And
we had that as kids too. Like, think of all the fucking costumes the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles wore that you had to buy different outfits for and shit like that. Yeah. Anyway, I am still enjoying Fire Emblem quite a bit despite my qualms. It is still the best game I've played this year, which is, you know, I've only played like 3 games this year, so that isn't saying much.
The year's still young.
Also, this is absolutely my game of the year, and I don't see anything taking it down.
It's such a great like strategy game. Just not to belabor, but like going back to like the weapon triangle, the brake system that they have in there, the way like you can use like healers can now like fight now, like for crying out loud, is so fucking cool and can take down. Basically break magic users. All that stuff is great.
And some really incredible combo stuff too. Like just super quickly, here's one. I don't like Yunaka, but Yunaka is a really good character from a fighting perspective. She's got a personal skill that gives her plus 15 crit whenever she's in terrain that gives her a void. If she stays in her thief class, thieves have a class ability that doubles the amount of a void they get from terrain. So she's getting more crit, and she's get double the avoid anytime she's in terrain. That's great, except terrain's not everywhere. Terrain's only in very specific places. Unless you have Emblem Corrin, who has an ability that can just make terrain. And you can make terrain that gives you a void. It's called something of fog, vision of fog or something like that. And you can equip Emblem Corrin to Yunaka. Yunaka goes and she puts down the fog for herself to give herself basically plus 60 avoid and plus 15 crit. If you give her a weapon that you forged to have extra crit on it, she's basically going to be critting every single time. And you can also use your dancer unit to go up to her after she's laid down the fog and dance her, so then she can also attack on that turn without having to wait for the enemies to attack her to begin with. It's so fucking broken, and I'd be using it if she didn't say Hiya Papaya every 5 fucking seconds.
She sucks. They all suck.
You didn't crack up when she said that? Like,
I like Hiya Papaya. I don't think I've liked anything else she said. It's rough, but that's some of the cool stuff in that game.
Right on. We've talked a lot about Fire Emblem here. for 2 weeks. We've got a big quick look. One of our longer ones you can check out on our YouTube channel as well. Jiggy, to recap here, you've talked about Okami. You talked about the Animal Crossing new murder stream that you watched, Sega Rally Championship. You talked about Always On, which is that Seinfeld AI, which is bonkers to begin with. And obviously, we just spent some time going over Fire Emblem Engage, which we've all been playing. Chase, certainly more so than all of us combined.
I
usually don't play this much, but damn, I've been busy this past month.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think I'll have Fire Emblem finished this next week, and then talk about it one last time, and then I'll have to find something else to do.
Yes, we will. We can certainly help out with that.
Hey! Advance Wars reboot might be coming out soon, so you might have something.
Fingers crossed, man. Bobby, what have you been playing?
Yeah, I've got a couple new things to talk about here tonight. We streamed on Monday night a game called Power Chord. This is out on PC only. It is $17.99 currently at the time of this recording, normally $19.99. It is developed and published by Big Blue Bubble. This is a really cool game. If you are into run-based deck building games, it's got a little Slay the Spire. It's got a little Darkest Dungeon in it. It is a visual feast. It's got a neat style to it as far as how they let you bring in known classes to a band. So what I mean by that is your mage, your bard, your, I guess we could call them a warrior, and your tank classes are all present, but tied into what musicians would be. And they've got casting abilities and warding off abilities. It does ramp up in its difficulty, I think, pretty steeply as you're working your way through the bosses, but all the things that you would expect from a game like this are there, from shops to chance encounters to healing opportunities. But they do some interesting stuff on artifact placement that isn't like most other games in this genre, where it's tied to a character and you have to choose who you put that on. There are banned artifacts that come from boss when you beat a boss, but for the most part, you get to build in this layer of strategy per run per character. There's multiple characters you can choose from. I don't know if I would say like, hey, play Power Chord before you play a Monster Train. I absolutely would not say that. But I would say if you are somebody who is curious about the genre, it's a pretty low entry point, $20 for a game that obviously will have a lot of different varieties of runs that you can do to unlock things. There's some smart decisions at play here on a design standpoint. Again, that UI, visually knowing the forecasting from your enemies, how they're going to be hitting not only on placement, but also color, I think makes a lot of sense here. And I'd like to see that carried over to other games. They're certainly not the first one to do it, but I think they do this really well. Jiggy, I know that you were watching the stream. Chase, you've seen a demo of this. You've done a stream of this now. Any hot takes from you all on what you saw with this?
I like the style of the game. It definitely gets that sort of like how Brutal Legend also is like this ode to metal, rock and roll and stuff like that. It definitely like is infused with that sort of vibe and everything. So I appreciate that. As like the card game aspect to it, from what I've seen, it looks fine. Like, yeah, seems like a very like competent sort of randomized card battle game.
Yeah, I think it's cool in that like there are a number of games out there, roguelikes, card games, not so much card games, but a lot of games, if you play them perfectly, if you always make the right decision, you can come out unscathed. This game doesn't do that. You are going. It's about mitigating as much of the damage as you can and surviving. Yeah, and I find that to be really cool. That when we played, especially that stream on Monday, we knew we were taking damage. We knew we had to sacrifice characters at some point. It's all about, okay, I can afford to lose this because I then can still use that. And I think the game does have enough ways of giving you catch-up mechanics of, hey, you can not fully heal this character. You can half revive this character, and then you can find other ways to heal them. Or you can give a 30% heal to all of your characters instead. And I think it has lots of ways to plan around those things, that if you see the map, you can go, okay, I know I have to get through this one fight, but if I do, then I can get to this health station, then I can go to this gearbox, then I can go to that other health station, and then I'll be good before the boss fight. And so okay, I know I've got 2 health stations coming up. I know I can sacrifice a character here because then I can heal them up for 50, and then I can heal everybody up for 30 extra, and then I'll be fine. And playing it that way, I think is really cool to know a bunch of your options. It's something I feel like I would do with something like Fire Emblem, and not to get back on Fire Emblem, but Fire Emblem is something that goes on for 60 hours, whereas a run like this goes on for an hour. And I think you can take more calculated risks in interesting ways, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's super slick. There's a lot of options out there that you can spend your time playing games like this. So I would say, choose wisely. There's things here that I think stylistically make a lot of sense. Mechanically in the game, I think the engine building I haven't fully grasped yet on like how to create a synergy between these 4 characters in a way that's meaningful. Especially like Monster Train's just like a weird fucking mad scientist, and like I keep thinking about that.
If you've never played one of these games before, play Monster Train, play Fights in Tight Spaces.
Yep.
Then maybe check something like this out. But if you are a veteran of these things, if you played a lot of Monster Trainer or just kind of looking for something new, I think this is a good one to jump in on and try. Because again, as Giggy mentioned, visually this game is something really cool and special. And then I think mechanically it has a lot of stuff going on. It's just that it's not polished to the mirror sheen of mechanics that something like Monster Train is.
And it seems like a very crowded field too. Like
yes,
absolutely,
a lot of these games out there.
100%. If you are, however, not getting the fix that you would need from a hyper stylistic, music centric game, boy howdy, let me tell you all about Hi-Fi Rush. I don't need to tell
me. I've been watching a little bit of this from other streamers, and this game looks incredible.
It is. This is maybe my favorite thing I've played this year. It is.
You should play more Fire Emblem.
Chase, you might need to play Hi-Fi Rush.
I know, I definitely need to. I have it downloaded.
Hey,
I'm ready to go.
I can tell you right now, the characters in Hi-Fi Rush, much better. Hi-Fi Rush,
that's not difficult.
It's a low bar. It got announced. This is a shadow drop from Tango Gameworks. This was announced at the Xbox conference they had on the 25th. This is through Bethesda. This is the same team that worked on Ghostwire Tokyo, The Evil Within, and here they come with an action rhythm-based game, no less shadow dropped. This game is currently on sale for $29.99, which is a hell of a price for what you're getting here with it, I think. But what is Hi-Fi Rush? It is an action rhythm game, maybe one of the more forgiving in the genre. I think you all know I love Cadence of Hyrule. That game is punitive if you miss the beat. Like, it just kind of seizes up if you're not doing that correctly. Where Hi-Fi Rush will allow you to enjoy the game as sloppily as you'd like to. There are benefits, of course, to being on beat, and they layer in things that make that easier to do by teaching you little tips and tricks. Like, hey, if you just press attack when your first attack lands, you're likely going to be executing on beat. And that there, without like watching all the visual cues, which are, plentiful, there's a great way to stay on target with what you're doing here. So this is a game where you go in for an augmentation. You want to get this metal trash picking up arm attached to your body. You have a iPod on you. And just like the spider that bit Peter Parker, this scientific disaster happens where while your arm is being grafted to your body, the iPod falls down through a series of things and lands on your chest and becomes morphed into your heart. So it looks a lot like the arc reactor for Tony Stark, but it is an iPod. And this causes everything in the environment to be on beat. Here's why that's awesome. You can look at all the assets in the world, and they are all moving at the beat that you should be attacking on. There's so many.
Not just staring at a mini map or something the whole time you're playing. You can literally look anywhere and get an idea of how the beat should be, so you're always can stay in the moment. I think that's really neat.
That's a cool like visual cue, quick look kind of thing. I applaud that the developers doing something like that.
Yeah. And the game is a looker on top of that. It's got a beautiful cell shade look to it, lots of vibrant colors. The style of it,
so good.
It's it's one of the coolest like styles of games I've seen in some time. Like everything in Jiggy, the world design. Check out the quick look tomorrow, because we fall into a world in this that is this factory, and how the factory is like churning the belts are all linked up on the beat. It's so fucking rad how they do this. It's incredible. It's on Game Pass, by the way. The boss battles are so fucking fun because they're attacking on the beat, but there's things that happen on the offbeat that will like let you go in and just attack in a really gleeful way. It's fantastic. I love the characters that they've included so far. And Chase, I wasn't wrong in our quick look when I talked about being able to switch into characters, but these are people that you call in now from a support. So I'm going to spoil something here. Peppermint. Now, if you're in a battle and there's an enemy that will have a shield over it, she's on a very fast cooldown, but you pull the right trigger, and even while you're doing all your stuff with the beat, she just comes in with 2 pistols and blasts everybody. And she can like remove the shield for you. So I'll call her in, stay on beat for the other ones. The other thing is, remember how the circle would close in on that, like to wrap up your combo? If you pull the right trigger, whenever that hits perfect, she comes in and does like an all-out attack with you on the character. If you're juggling them and you do this, it is the most fucking anime-ass giant fucking bazooka she pulls out mid-air and just fucking annihilates them. It's so much fun how they do it. It's very, very, very cool. Hi-Fi Rush, we have a category for Game of the Year. We have a few that I think this would hit in, but best debut, I feel very strongly that like just the shadow drop nature, how this kind of came to be, it's a really awesome game. I fucking love it.
February 1st. We cannot spend
Chase,
12 months.
no.
I know. I'm guilty of it too.
You said that no game this year is going to beat that for you. I don't have to stop shit. Last year, I was fucking 10 for 10 on my calls when I said, hey, this will be my game of the year.
It's not like super long. It's also not super short, but it's like a beefy enough game that like at $30 or playing on Game Pass, you're gonna have a good time. I'm like that when I get my Series X. That's gonna be like when I get a Game Pass, I'm gonna download that right away.
It's pretty short. I don't know if I'd spend $30 on this game. I'd definitely download it if I have Game Pass. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I think
this is a Game Pass game.
But yeah, I don't know if $30 is quite what that is, but you should get game. You know what? You should just get Game Pass for a month, play it, finish it, and then stop Game Pass if you don't want to keep having it. That's a better deal than paying $30
it's definitely
for
worth
the game itself.
The $1 a month that you can pay for your first Game Pass endeavor.
This is like the opposite conversation I heard on like GameSpeak Decide when the shadow dropped. Mike Minotti is like, "Oh, I wish this game was cost more. Like I feel like I'm ripping them off at $30."
I feel like, 30 is a fantastic. I mean, I think you're getting a hell of a game with it too.
A good price point, because it's like we don't really get that anymore with like a game. Like think of it, this game came out 15 years ago. And it was like, like Okami. And it's not as long as Okami, but it is still like one of those like it's not like a basic game, but it is very direct and you kind of get the idea what it's about just looking at it.
Yep.
And like 15 years ago, this would be a $60 game.
Yeah, it'd be a cult classic that people would have played 4 hours of and said, "Oh, that game was awesome," even though the game itself, to justify that price, would have to be like 20 hours. And so nobody would have finished it, but they all would have thought it was great.
Yeah, this is like one of those $40 games that like Guitaru Man or Mr. Mosquito, like something that is just very distinct and like not exactly like the high-priced item that is AAA or anything like that, but like, sure. I feel like this game will be like on the tops of people's minds by the end of the year, definitely.
I don't disagree. It's just, I know we mentioned on the quick look, or I mentioned it specifically on the quick look. I feel like this game was priced in a way to push you to Game Pass. The whole thing is about pushing you to Game Pass.
That I agree with.
It's hey, $30. I mean, yeah, that's not a full price video game, but you could get this on top of all the other stuff we have if you get Game Pass. I feel like if this game was $15, I think a lot of people would just buy it. If
Maybe
because this game is $30, I think a lot of people will try Game Pass for a month to play it and then maybe stick around on Game Pass, which is what Microsoft ultimately wants you to do.
Well, if I wasn't surprised enough by a shadow drop for such a banger, I certainly have surprised myself in the next game that I've been checking out, which is Dead Space Remake. I did not play the original Dead Space.
No?
I did not.
Like at all? Oh,
at all.
wow.
I'm a tiny little baby, and I still played some of the original Dead
I'm
Space.
a baby too, but I played the original Dead Space. I didn't beat it, but I played it.
Yeah, so I am before all this, like I played Condemned when the 360 came out, and that was a really difficult thing for me to get through. But I traditionally just don't do well with these types of games. But the more I looked at Dead Space, and look, I've always felt it's a very cool premise. I got like Alien vibe from it. I think that the suit design and just everything that they did at the time when this came out was remarkable. I don't need
like minimal UI design and everything
absolutely.
like that. Beautiful stuff.
And since then, I've certainly I've always been into like horror movies and things like that. And I've played, I think Control at times was like really disturbing in the way that they presented things. And I've certainly played like Resident Evil 4 and really enjoyed that. So I was looking at this one in this remake. I was like, this looks so fucking cool. Like if there's ever a time to go back and play a remake of a game that you missed out, it's not Final Fantasy VII again, which was great to do. This one, however,
Resident Evil 4.
Coming in a few months, baby.
I got to tell you, Dead Space fucking rules. This game is absolutely incredible. It's so much fun to play. Like it is absolutely just a fucking joy to play this game. It's terrifying at times, but what they give you to use and how you can like they gamify it. Like you always feel what I really like about Dead Space, even for just being a very humble engineer, you feel like a threat. Not in the sense of like Doom guy who's literally ripping apart monsters, but I never feel like I'm not capable to fuck some things up in the event that I need to, whether it be the just chef's kiss of a stomp action in the game to I can shoot your leg off and keep you at a good distance to like cool down my nerves and figure out how I need to game this situation with you. And
I think that's what I've really liked is that you mentioned like not just being a Doom guy. Like there is a certain MacGyverness to Isaac where you are not trained to do this job. Like you do not have the equipment for this. You are not trained for this. And I think that comes out in the gameplay in how you move very slowly and the tools that you have. You don't have some super incredible gun. You have these cutter tools that engineers would use, and the gameplay, the enemy design feeds into that as well, and the idea that you are cutting off limbs, like Bobby said, either to slow an enemy down or to take off arms so they can't hit you or use a very specific attack on you. There is this kind of workman-like quality to it that makes it a lot more interesting of a horror experience than just, now I have the shotgun instead of the pistol. I find that to be really cool about Dead Space as a concept for sure.
The other thing that's really neat here, so again, I didn't play the first one, but I have been reading up on this based off how it's impacting me, and I'm like, I need to know, like, what's all changed here? Like, is this game, for the most part, as fucking revolutionary the way I'm feeling it is right now from when it's like, did they change stuff up to make this feel so good today, or is it still pulling from the original? I do know that Isaac is voiced now, which I guess he wasn't in that one, so he's a fully voiced character
too, so
right, he would have been, and it's the same voice actor, I believe, that they have from the subsequent games. But you're right, they didn't have voice acting for Isaac in the first game, and so they've put it back in, but they haven't really altered the previous script. So that's something I've heard. It's like he just kind of ends up parroting a lot of other people who are like, "Oh, Isaac, go to this place and push this button." And he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go to that place and push that button." Like, yeah, okay. I mean, yeah.
It's not been terrible.
If
It's
somebody
definitely
remade
weird.
Half-Life and said, "Oh, we voiced Gordon Freeman now," I would say, "Fuck that!
Yeah,
What are you doing?"
They never do that. That's not Half-Life then.
Right. I know. Dead Space is not Half-Life, but
The
I don't think it's part of Isaac's character that he doesn't talk in the same way Link doesn't talk, in the same way that Gordon Freeman doesn't talk. But I still think it's weird that they did that. Now, if I haven't heard any of the performances, so Bobby, if you think that it sounds relatively natural that he's in there or it doesn't really affect anything, totally fine.
That's not the only thing they added into it, from what I can tell. I guess this was prominent in Dead Space 2, but like the telekinesis ability to like throw and do things.
That was in the first one.
It wasn't the first one.
Yep, that was in the first one.
Not stasis, but like literally like picking items up and
picking up items, throwing stuff. Yeah, that was in the first one.
Okay, because I found that like ammo has been, you can craft ammo and you can find ammo pretty readily, but for the most part, man, like I can be pretty vicious just by grabbing shit in the environment. And that's how I played Control. Like I would alternate between, all right, they're stunned or knocked down, they're no longer floating because I threw a chair at them. Now I'm going to shoot them and end it here. I think the story's really effective. I think the environment, like just the overall vibe of this game is fucking fantastic. Like,
God,
it's
the
so good,
original
dude.
just had this sound design that just made like every creak and crack on, was it the Ishimura or the Ishikawa, the ship and stuff, Ishimura. Yeah. It's just like, oh my goodness, like you are like on edge just by the pure atmosphere on that. It like even like your heartbeat of Isaac's character and like how that affects like your health and everything. It's just like or reflects your health. It's just like the sound design was just so amazing in that game back in like, what was that, like 2009, 2009, 2008,
something like that.
Just whew.
It's really cool. I'm going to Johnny and I were supposed to stream this. I did not own it at the time. He was going to try and use the power of the internet last Friday, and we were going to do it, but Johnny's gone, and out of spite towards Johnny, I'm going to play this by myself on Friday night. So if you'd like to see it in action,
turn the lights out.
Turn the lights out for sure.
I will not be joining that stream.
I'll hold your hand, Bobby.
Thank you. I think I'm like probably 3 to 4 hours into it at this point, and I don't think this is a relatively long game either. I think this is somewhere around like 13 to 15 hours. But the one last thing I'll call out here is from a graphical standpoint, like this is one of the most impressive looking games ever that I've seen.
Yeah, I've seen some people stream it in some videos. It's like, wow, like the original also looked fairly good at its time, like as a the 360 PS3 game. This just is like they put the time and care into getting this updated, like more so like The Last of Us Part 1, something like a remake that came out recently. Yeah, they updated the character models, they redid a few things here and there, but that was pretty much just like graphical touches to just like make it look like it's like a little bit better.
Yep.
This looks like, wow, they went the full 9 yards, like just whew.
It's awesome. I mean, especially like when you get guts and stuff on you, the way that like the suit changes. There are some really dumb things you can do if you buy I don't have the digital one, the digital deluxe, but they've added in skins for Isaac that are different variations of the suit, and one of them is like what they call a like survivalist, and
they made it Dead Space 3. No.
Yeah, like he's got like the antlers on their hands and shit. It's cool. We're gonna stream it tomorrow night. Very impressive they've done there with it. Sorry, Friday night. Well, oh yeah, it's not quite midnight.
Bobby, did you played Callisto Protocol, didn't you?
I only played I played maybe like 20 minutes of that one night when I was like really tired, and by the next morning,
people is that like the Dead Space remake coming out means you can just kind of throw Callisto Protocol in the trash now. Like this,
I heard,
this is the one that
I heard it's not good, and this is getting very, very good reviews as well. People seem to really enjoy what they've done with it. Me as a newcomer, I don't have anything to base it off of, but people who did play the other one, the original, seem to really appreciate what they've done here. And I think that was good. So I talked about Power Chord, I talked about Hi-Fi Rush, and I talked about Dead Space. A lot of cool stuff there. I believe we can finally talk about last month's games.
Almost. One thing we should probably do first.
What's that?
I think it's time to spin that wheel.
Spin the wheel. Make Chase rich.
I've put the link under our what you've been playing stuff in the note.
Okay.
It's highlighted yellow there. That's PlayStation logo.
Yeah, just gotta open up multiple things here.
I see.
There we go. Click to spin.
All right. What am I going to be playing this month, Bobby?
I don't know, Chase.
You know, before you click it, Jiggy, I would like to extend the same courtesy I did to these other guys. It won't go on the wheel this month, but if there is a game out there that you would like me to play, I've always wanted to play. Man. This is your chance to tell me to put it on my backlog wheel, and I'll put it on there.
I am unprepared for this. I would say you need to play.
There's a game I desperately don't want you to say. Okay, that you know what?
Oh, okay, then Star Fox Adventures.
Oh, that's even worse.
Mission 3. I know you have this shit on Vita. Damn it.
I don't actually.
Oh, I thought you did.
And I feel like I don't mean to do this, but I'm going to disqualify that one because I know it'll also be coming to the Switch at some point. Also, I really didn't like Front Mission 1.
Hey, you get to pick, Jiggy, but only if he likes what you pick.
The jokey one I thought you might pick that I would actually consider is Codename Steam.
I mean, yes, you should put Codename Steam on there then.
I can put Codename Steam on there for you.
That's called Leading the Witness.
Well, he's always wanted me to play that game, and I think it fucking sucked, but I would play that one.
Am I going to spin this damn thing?
Go ahead, spin that wheel. Tell me what I'm going to play. There's like 90 plus games on here. We'll see what it says. I'm a little scared. As long as it's not something that's like 100 hours, I'm fine.
The Last Guardian.
Ooh, good one.
All right. Sure. You know what? That ties into a news story. Sony's taken down the PlayStation Plus collection stuff in May. So you've got time to download those games if you don't have them already. But I added the downloadable version of the Last Guardian to my PS5 today through the PS Plus collection.
Do you want me to remove this?
I have a physical copy. I don't think it matters. That's like your copy of the thing. It's not the full thing.
Oh, got it.
I'll make sure it gets removed. But yeah, okay. I will play The Last Guardian. That's a game I've wanted to play for a while. I mean, yes, anything on the backlog list is a game I've wanted to play for a while.
You got the physical copy in a PS5. You can play the game at 60 frames per second now without.
I do have. Should I play the physical copy instead of playing the downloadable version? Okay.
Yes, because the unpatched version runs at a uncapped frame rate and a stable uncapped frame rate versus the patched version on PS5.
What a weird fucking thing. Okay.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, I will play that game. I will excitedly play that game. I think that's a
Physical
great.
Copies win again, baby. Yeah.
Well
All
done,
right.
Lady Luck. That's a great choice. I love that. All right. Now let's get into our preview. And when we do our previews, we always talk about the previous month first. What did we pick? Jiggy was not here for that month. Johnny was still here back when we let him on this podcast.
I'll spoil it. My pick is Fire Emblem.
Well, funny enough, my pick was also Fire Emblem, and I'm still feeling pretty good about that pick. I also had A Space for the Unbound, which is a game that I did download. I have not played yet because of said Fire Emblem, but I did purchase it and ready to play it. And then I also had Persona 3 Portable, which I did download. I'm feeling a little not great about it. I've heard that the port is not perfect. It's got some sound issue stuff that it just sounds a little off. Some people are still pretty pissed that it's the Persona 3 Portable version instead of the PS2 version or PlayStation or Persona 3 FES that had the extra story bits on it. I don't think I'm going to mind that much. I'm not too concerned, but I have heard some people make some mentions about that. Bobby, you also had Fire Emblem Engage, which we talked about. You had Dead Space, which you just talked about. You had Forspoken, which we talked about last week. Yeah,
We didn't. I haven't played it.
No,
Oh.
Did Johnny play it?
No, none of us have played it.
Okay.
We don't own it.
Okay, I thought we did discuss. Well, we discussed the demo when it was out at one point. We've talked about it. Maybe a little rough out there.
Skipped.
And then Inkulinati, which that game is
it's out.
Not
I played it last night. I got through basically the tutorial. That game seems very cool. We will be playing that on stream.
All right, and I'm sure we'll talk about it in more depth next week.
Yep.
And then Johnny had Dead Space, he had Fire Emblem, and he had Persona 3 Portable. So we've mentioned those all in one way or another. Let's get to the free stuff that you can get this month if you have these free if you have the various subscriptions already. PlayStation Plus Essentials. We're not doing extra or premium or whatever the fuck they do. But for the Essentials, I think it's a solid lineup. Ollie Ollie World for PS5 and PS4. Bobby loves that game.
I do love that game.
Evil Dead the game, both for PS5 and PS4. Destiny 2 Beyond Light DLC for PS5 and PS4. So Destiny 2, I believe, is still free to play at this point. So this is the DLC, not the DLC we're on and about to finish. It's the DLC from before that. But I think the Beyond Light campaign is relatively solid. It has some cool stuff. You get the Stasis subclass. There's a lot of good stuff in there. If you have Destiny 2 and didn't have the Beyond Light DLC,
they should. The most expensive tier of whatever PlayStation calls their bullshit should absolutely include the season pass for the year for Destiny 2.
You'd think that'd be a slam dunk.
That would make sense, right? Like, we own fucking Bungie. Just that would be
that gets everybody on their most expensive tier.
Yep.
Throw it in there. The game's free. You get all the DLC for Destiny if you're on our most why the fuck would they not do that? That's so silly.
Maybe in the future they will. And then also Mafia Definitive Edition. That is just the PS4 version. You can play it on your PS5, but it's not going to have a fancy version for it.
That was Guess the Game today.
Oh, fun.
Oh, was it?
Mafia, the original Mafia.
Very cool. For Xbox Games with Gold, For the King will be on. So this is right. They dropped the Xbox 360 games, so these are all Xbox One games. Yep. For the King is available February 1st through February 28th. Looking at this one, this was a procedurally generated hex-based RPG roguelike-y thing. I think it looks kind of cool. I don't know why we didn't.
I think let me look this up really quick.
Did we talk about it in the past? When I looked at it, I was like, I don't think I've seen this game before.
I think one second. For the King, right?
Yeah.
I have this game. I bought it on the Switch. It's also on, at least it was on Game Pass at the time that I picked this up on the Switch. It is cool. It's a cool game for sure. We could probably revisit it. I don't remember if it's co-op or not.
I think it was. When I looked at a trailer, I think it does have.
There's a sequel apparently.
It's coming out. It's coming out this year.
Okay, that's probably why they're getting people all hyped on that other one. Okay, cool. That just says 2023 for the next one.
Okay. And then the other game is Guts in Goals, which is available February 16th to March 15th. This is a top-down soccer-y, like Rocket League style game, but it's also kind of got like an arcade beat-em-up thing where you're swinging nail bats and things at people and knocking them around and going to get the ball. I don't know. Seems okay. And then I'm going to throw it back over to Bobby to talk about the new to Game Pass games for this month.
Yeah, currently as of February 1st, there's only 4 games that we can confirm for sure, but we've got Darkest Dungeon. I feel like that's been on Game Pass before. I think maybe this is getting rotated back in.
Maybe.
I think. Yeah. Grid Legends will be there as well. Hot Wheels Unleashed. I heard really good things about that one.
Johnny seemed to really like it.
Yeah, it looks slick. I might check that one out. And then Atomic Heart, which we'll talk about here in a little bit.
Very cool. Well, let's get into the monthly releases. On February 1st, today, right now, Rhythm Sprout is coming to PC, Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. I don't know. Seemed like a decent little rhythm game. It's got a note highway thing, like a Rock Band or a Guitar Hero. The music seemed kind of cool with some synthy stuff, and it seems very humory. Gameplay wise, it doesn't seem like it has much going on outside of that note highway.
Oh, a carrot.
But yeah, little carrot guy. Your vegetables, and you're fighting
ice cream and
sweets.
cookies.
Yeah.
Fighting like Angry Bird style sweets.
Yeah. I don't know. Seems all right. Speaking of fighting with your food, on the 2nd, Chef Life, a restaurant simulator, comes to PC, Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. This is apparently a series of different like job simulators. Like there is a
got that Michelin star.
Yeah, there is a Train Life, a railway simulator. So like there are lots of these kinds of things. This one aggressively advertised by Michelin, which fits the theme. But it is the whole point of this game is to be a Michelin star rated restaurant.
This reminds me of like a game on PlayStation 1 that was a Japanese import that was like the same thing. Like it was on one of the Jump Pack like demo discs or something like that. Like basically running like a restaurant and using both analog sticks to do like stirring, chopping, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. I don't looking.
This looks like a Wii game, dude.
It kind of does, yeah. It's like
I'm kind of vibing with this. I don't know.
I don't think it looks bad.
Yeah.
It's just when it comes to the gameplay stuff, like all the mini games for the cooking, it seems to really just all use the right thumbstick in some form or fashion. And then it seems like more of the game, more like the quote unquote meat of the game is going to be the management sim of the restaurant. But I don't know.
Surprise! This is just the fucking menu chase.
Kinda, honestly.
But you take over the menu.
You watch any trailer for this game, and they will just not stop saying Michelin. It's
Michelin Guide.
It's a little gross how much it is branded like that, but I think it's interesting. The Switch version or the eShop says this game is actually coming out in March, so I don't know if it's coming out on all the same platforms. Everywhere else it says that it's coming out on the same day on February 2nd, but the Switch's eShop itself says, nah, we'll wait till March. So I would probably believe Nintendo in that aspect.
If your food doesn't look as good as in Final Fantasy 15, why bother?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Or in Monster Hunter.
Also on the 2nd, Deliver Us Mars is coming to PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. It appears to be an adventure game about, guess what, being on Mars.
It's a sequel.
Yeah, you said there was like Deliver Us the Moon or something?
Yeah, I guess I should. I don't know if this is a direct sequel to that, but Deliver Us the Moon came out a couple years back, and this is a seemingly very similar game, but on Mars. And the whole concept is that like Earth we needed to colonize elsewhere because there's a bad storm that came and wiped out crops and stuff on Earth.
It's not developed by Don't Nod, but it has a very Don't Nod look and feel to it. Just production value wise, especially for an adventure game. I don't know. I kind of dig what I'm seeing.
Yeah. It looks like graphically, it looks really good.
Yeah.
Like, if
Deliver
it's
Us the Moon was cool.
If it looks like a good sci-fi story, like trying to survive on Mars after a disaster or something like that, I'd be down.
This one seems to be a bit more action oriented. What the other one was, like the Deliver Us the Moon, at least at the points that I didn't go all the way through it, but it was a slow burn for sure. And this one could be at times, but this certainly is showing more action, which could be really fucking cool, man. Like this one's on my radar for sure.
Yep. I think after watching this trailer, it started to be on mine as well. Also on the 2nd, Fashion Police Squad is coming to Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. This is a console port of a 2021 PC game. So the premise here, kind of silly, kind of stupid. You are part of the fashion police. which means that it's a first-person shooter. Get that Fashion Police Squad stands for FPS. It's a very good joke.
Yes.
So you're shooting the people with bad clothing, and if you shoot them enough, they get better clothing. That's I
love the style of this game. Like the look of it is
Yeah.
just. Why can't more games be like this?
Yeah, this kind of pixel-based stuff in a 3D-ish world.
Are you using a belt for a whip?
Stuff. You are. You
got a sewing machine,
more like a grappling hook.
Gun.
I did read some reviews on this game, and they said that they think that the way that you have to switch weapons to deal with different kinds of outfits is kind of cool. There is like a rocket launcher you get at one point that just works on everybody, which is a little lame. But people really did not seem to like the belt stuff, like doing it as a grappling hook, that the grapple points are very specific. It doesn't feel very good in that sense, but the shooting stuff and the comedy stuff seems kind of fun. I don't know if it's something I'm gonna pick up right away, but it did seem kind of cool.
Sure.
And then lastly, on the second is the Pathless. We're not going to show a video because it's another port of a game that we know. But the Pathless is now coming to Switch, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. Bobby, you played the Pathless on Apple Arcade, if I'm not mistaken. You want to remind people about the Pathless real quick?
Yeah, it's not quite on rails. It is a somewhat open world where you are using a bow and high traversal, like you're basically going into a glide state when you are hitting targets. That game feel like much like a Sonic the Hedgehog. The game feels great when it should, and it feels terrible when it should feel good. If you're not moving fast, you are barely moving at all, and that's a bummer. But it looks cool. There's a neat premise to it. It's kind of got some Journey vibes to go back to that game we called out earlier, but it's neat. It's a cool looking game.
Style
for sure.
in that game looks great. I played a little bit back on when it came out on Apple Arcade when I had that, and my iPhone 12 mini like chugged and burned trying to play that game. But it's like the rhythm and movement through that game is just really something, and just the overall atmosphere and vibe is just really, really cool. I wish I had actual controls to play it, and I might pick it up on Switch or console here.
I remember really considering buying it on PlayStation, but I remember it also just being extremely expensive for a game of that size, when there were a lot of other games that you could get at $15, and I feel like this one was 30 or 40. And
I think it was like 40 or something like that. It was almost a full price game, and
it
was to pull the trigger on something like that.
Something like Apple Arcade, totally get it. Although then you're not getting to play with a DualShock or something. So, I'm excited to see it come to other consoles. If it goes on sale on Switch or something, I could totally see picking it up and giving it a shot. On the 3rd, we're getting Helvetii for PC, Switch, and PS4. This is, I feel like I do this every couple months. I think this game looks like Muramasa the Demon Blade, which is one of my favorite games ever.
It does, but you're a fox girl. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think you switch out a lot of different characters. This is also a roguelike, which, like, the idea of a roguelike Muramasa sounds fucking awesome to me. Here's the problem. Every time I talk about one of these games that looks like Muramasa the Demon Blade...
Not a fox girl, a fox twink. Sorry.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, get it right. But every time I talk about one of these games, it happened with the Bladed Fury game. It happened with Sakuna of Rice and Ruin. These games come out and they're just not Muramasa. And unfortunately, Vanillaware is busy making cool other new games rather than porting their old awesome games. Except for Odin Sphere. Odin Sphere got a port. Port Muramasa the Demon Blade, goddammit.
Pull out your Vita or Wii, Chase.
Yeah.
It's on there.
I could do that.
You absolutely could.
Anyway, they should put that game on Switch, though.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It seems fine. It seems like it could be a little sticky, like a little stiff in the way it plays, but I do like spinning swords and having multiple damage numbers come off an enemy at one time.
Getting those air juggle combos going and everything.
Yeah.
It seems to be hitting all the like. Oh, it's got flying numbers for damage.
I know,
pushing all the right buttons.
It's pushing those Muramasa the Demon Blade features. Anyway, let's move on. On the 10th, Hogwarts Legacy comes to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X.
Pass.
Yeah. I know. I think Bobby, you said you're going to try it. We're not really going to talk about it too much on the show, but
yeah, I'm gonna play it.
Yeah.
I've got, I'm 37. This was
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Harry Potter was. I didn't struggle reading. I just think that I was like, I had a hard time staying focused while reading. And Harry Potter as a kid was some of the first books that like really helped me get over that.
Yeah.
And it was something that I remember my dad got really into Harry Potter, like with me and my brother, and we went and saw the movies together. So I've got a lot of fond memories from my childhood. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of clouds that have settled around those memories as an adult. I've really struggled with like how to approach things in this day and age that have a lot of meaning to me that have been tarnished in one way or another. This one,
I don't think you're alone in that. I think a lot of people with this franchise, especially, but even just in general, there's a bunch of people up in arms about cancel culture, whether it's good or bad.
I guess I'm curious on this one, Chase, with that conversation that's surrounding this game has a lot to do with, J.K. Rowling and her really terrible statements. But I suppose I'm trying to understand with this one. There's been plenty of like Lego Harry Potter games and actual Harry Potter games that have come out in the past. I have not heard, at least at this level, and I know that things have changed, right? Like I know that we're in a different spot nowadays for sure, but I don't think I've heard the conversation go towards those entries as much as this one.
Well, when was the last Harry Potter game?
I mean, there's been Harry Potter, I think just like a couple years back. I mean, since she's opened her mouth in a bad way, I would say there's been things that have come out.
This is definitely not the first game.
I think it's a lot more to do with her opening her mouth a lot more in the past couple of years.
Maybe, but I also think it has a lot to do. I think it has a lot to do with that this game is higher production values. This is not just another one of those Lego games. This is something that I think a lot of people are really excited for, which means you have a different group of people who feel like they need to get even more vocal about why they don't want to see this game or don't want this game to be successful. I don't know. I don't really have a dog in the fight. Like you, Harry Potter meant a lot to me for a very finite amount of time in my life. It was basically 5th to maybe 6th grade. I read 3 of those books. I started the 4th one and kind of immediately fell out of favor, and I've never thought about Harry Potter again. So this just was never going to be my thing. I know a lot of people are excited about it because it's Harry Potter. A lot of other people are excited because it looks like a cool open world video game. I don't know. So for the people out there who want to play it, more power to you. For the people who have reasons why they don't want to play this, I have no qualms with you.
Yeah, the thing of it is that like I am not. Like I'm in a place of privilege where I can make a choice of like, oh yeah, I can find a way to enjoy this. Like I recognize that for sure. Yeah. But I also through film, through music, other medias have like, I mean, I have a fucking Night in the Woods wallpaper on my laptop right now. Sure. Like I fucking adore that game. Do I adore what happened post that game and some of the things you hear about the people who were behind it? Absolutely not. But I do struggle with like how do I create lines, and that's a whole other conversation in itself.
Yeah, but that's something people have struggled with for a long time. The separating the art from the artist.
We've made a decision here, though. Like I am going to check this out. Johnny's going to check this game out. We're not going to produce content streams or quick looks on it. So we'll probably do a quick check-in after playing this game on just like, hey, it's from a video game perspective, like here's what we observed.
Sure.
But I don't think you're going to hear a lot of us talking or showcasing the game.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Such a Ravenclaw answer. Let's move on to also on the 10th, Wanted Dead comes out to PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. Bobby, I think you wrote this. You asked if this could be the continued resurgence of the B game era. Like I think this definitely has a similar vibe to a what's the
Evil West.
Evil West, yes, yeah. Evil West. I was like, which West was it?
This reminds me so much of that era, like 360. I don't know why I keep going.
Lollipop Chainsaw, that kind of stuff.
Actually, I was thinking about the Die Hard video game. Like that's even older than that. But like,
yeah, that's PS2, right?
Yeah, but like just like a beat 'em up in that sense, like dismemberment happening.
Die Hard Arcade.
I'm also getting like it's certainly not the exact same genre or anything like that, but I'm getting like some Alpha Protocol vibes.
Yep.
I'm getting some Metal Gear Rising Revengeance vibes.
Yeah.
It definitely has that kind of era of games that it's going for.
Where's the next Earth Defense Force?
I think that might be a tier. That's like a B- game. I love me some Earth Defense Force, but I think this looks a little better than Earth Defense Force.
I know what you're going for with this, though. Yeah. It definitely looks like standard beat 'em up kind of stuff with like a lot of pizzazz and that kind of like just panache.
Yeah. I don't know. It could be cool. I'm interested to hear a little bit more about it.
Games like this live and die by like how well it plays. Like you gotta have like if it feels good, it'll probably do well.
And it does have a pedigree behind it, right? This is Team Ninja.
Yep.
Oh, it is nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Okay.
So you get a little Ninja Gaiden in there. You get a little Dead or Alive in there. Maybe this game does feel really good. I don't know. I don't know if Itagaki's working on it. That guy's probably just having too much fun in a club, wearing sunglasses and all that. But
I think the tone of it's going to be.
Do that meme?
They really did that meme.
Yes,
they absolutely did that meme.
Yeah. I think the tone of this is going to be pretty silly.
Yeah. On Valentine's Day, February 14th, we are getting Blanc for PC and Switch. Jiggy, name me 10 games better than Blanc.
Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons.
Damn, okay, that's the one. You get that one. This game really does have a Brothers vibe to it. You play as two different characters. It's a co-op game, co-op experience. So one of you plays as the little dog and one of you plays as the deer, and each character has its own strengths and weaknesses. Hey, the little dog can go through the hollow logs. The deer has a little bit more weight to it, so it can use it as like a seesaw fulcrum. That's the stuff they show here in this trailer, but there are going to be lots of situations where one character has to open the door for the other character, who can then open the door for that character.
I'm loving the black and white style on this.
Yeah,
it's got a great style. It seems like it's got some heart. Like that's why people are going to get this.
It looks like that episode of Adventure Time where it's that snow giant that meets that like flame dog, and that's the whole episode.
PC and Switch. I could see this being a cool thing. Like it's not graphically super crazy, so I think it worked just fine on a Switch.
That's a good logo too. Damn,
it is a good logo. I know Bobby and I are pretty into black and white games these days. Well, not Trek to Yomi, but what's the photo game? Toem. We like Toem quite a bit. All right, let's move on to Returnal, which comes out the 15th. Again, we don't have a trailer here because we know what Returnal looks like. It's getting a PC port. Yay!
I think it's also a pretty heavy requirement of...
I believe it.
Yeah.
This will be a game I get once I get a PS5.
Sure. Well, hey, you're halfway there. You won the other console. So maybe someday you'll win a PS5.
Yep.
On the 16th, Fiat Rhythm Final Bar Line comes to PC and Switch.
They still making these games?
They're still making these games.
Damn.
Yes, absolutely. I played the very first one on
Same.
the 3DS and had a great time. I don't think I've ever felt like I needed to play another Fiat Rhythm, and yet they keep making them, and apparently they keep selling. So
Wow.
good for them. I know these games also have like a crazy amount of DLC songs, so I'm sure that's where they're getting some of this money too. And it's not just Final Fantasy stuff.
I wanted in the style of the remake, Final Fantasy VII remake. That one scene. I just make that a game, Square. Come on,
I mean,
do that.
It's weird that on some of these they're like the little chibi characters. On other ones, they're just pulling cutscenes from Final Fantasy X. They're also not just pulling from Final Fantasy franchises. I know there have been the World's End with You songs in here. Pretty sure there's been some Kingdom Hearts songs that have shown up in here. I know there's Live Alive. I think Megalomania is in here. As a DLC song, at least.
The Incubus song?
Yes, Megalomaniac.
Yes, definitely. Anyway, I don't think I need to play any more of these games, but I do remember really liking the first one. On the 17th, Tales of Symphonia Remastered comes to Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. Jiggy, you might know more about the Tales series than I do. I only played a couple of them before. I played Berseria and did not like it. Then I tried the demo of Tales from Arise, and not quite my thing. Is this one of the good ones?
This is the one that came out on GameCube first.
Okay.
The weird thing about this version, it runs at 30 frames per second locked. I don't know why. I think because they're doing it off of the PlayStation 2 version that came out like a year or two later after the GameCube one. So I watched a roommate of mine in college play through this, and it's pretty good. It's standard JRPG kind of stuff, but the battle system is pretty engaging. It's got this sort of... It's not like quite Grandia or like Lunar or something like that, but it's kind of close.
Mm-hmm.
Man, those characters talk a lot during battle. Like, good lord.
Oh boy.
Yes, they certainly did in Tales from Arise. Yeah. I could not deal with that.
Yeah, the only Tales game I played was a Tales of Fantasia or something like that. Like that was on Super Nintendo back in the day. I played that like on an emulator, like curious one day, what the fuck is this game? And was intrigued because like it's like a JRPG battle system where you're actually controlling everybody and fighting kind of stuff. They kind of change it up in a little bit in this one, so it's like more of like a choose your menu. I'm trying to remember if you like act as one of the characters and then the rest of the characters are like CPU controlled, but yeah. I completely forget. They also made like a direct sequel to this that came out on the GameCube. I don't know if this is contained within this.
I don't believe it is. I don't think it is.
Yeah. I think it's the base first game. So
the two I feel like I always hear people talk about as the good ones are Symphonia and Vesperia. And Vesperia, I'm pretty sure, is already out everywhere. It already got like an HD remaster. Mm-hmm. So now this is also getting one as well. Anyway, let's move on to the 17th, where we're getting Wild Hearts for the PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X.
I thought this was Last Guardian for a second. Holy shit.
Yeah, a little bit with that like rat monster. I mean, this is a Monster Hunter game for sure. This is a Monster Hunter game by way of Omega Force, the makers of Dynasty Warriors. I don't know if selling me Monster Hunter but Dynasty Warriors is necessarily going to get me excited.
I don't think it's Dynasty Warriors.
No. It is not Dynasty Warriors, but it's the Dynasty Warriors people.
Yeah.
That DNA is in here for sure.
Yeah.
Bobby, you seem more excited about this game than I am. Do you have?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, man. I think I like the style quite a bit. If it brings like the batshit craziness that I play Monster Hunter seldomly by myself, but mostly with friends. If we can get that same, like, which this looks to be crazy. I mean, this looks to be doing things that like the other one's not. So I'd like to know how it sets itself apart. I'll definitely check it out, I think, unless it just gets like raked over the coals for being a piss poor video game. I'll probably
look at him use that thing like it's a
I know.
helicopter on the wind
I
grass.
know.
Like, what is this game? Holy crap!
This looks really neat. So I'm definitely gonna check it out.
Yeah, I've tried other Monster Hunter alikes before. Like I tried playing God Eater, and hey, it's like a more actiony Monster Hunter where the animation priority is not so heavy, and I've somewhat enjoyed those games, but I just don't think monster hunting as a genre has been my thing. But I know it absolutely is for a lot of. What's the free one you played and liked a decent amount, Bobby?
It's the Epic Games one. Hang on a second.
Okay.
It was fine.
Yeah, I seem to remember you liking that.
Look at that porcupine freak! Holy crap!
Dauntless.
Yes. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Well, from one heart to another, on the 21st, we're getting Atomic Heart, which Bobby mentioned is coming to Game Pass, but it is also coming to PC, PS4, PS5, as well as Xbox One and Xbox Series X. I would say it's certainly the game with the most production values this month. I wrote down Russian BioShock vibes.
Yeah, I think that's kind of been it for a while. I remember watching a trailer a year and a half ago for this and was just like, yeah, that's what I want from a shooter. I like the magic abilities, the casting abilities. I can't remember
the first trailer. I think it was more of a teaser, and I just went, I don't know what the fuck this is, other than a shooter and a lot of weird shits happening.
Oh yeah,
you were playing like a Bjork video or something.
Yes,
you kind of are.
I can't remember. It is an alternate timeline, and I can't remember where it takes place in said timeline.
It was something like it's like an alternate timeline where the Soviet Union won the Cold War.
Yeah,
I think is how it's going.
I was gonna pick this up to begin with. This boss battle they're showing right now is kind of what sold me on it, but being Game Pass, I actually have this preloaded right now via their early downloads for these games, so I am ready.
I'm looking forward to watching the quick look with you
and
then making a determination based on that.
Like just the graphics in this, just
wow. Yep, agreed.
Moving on, also on the 21st is Like a Dragon Ishin, coming to PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. Like a Dragon is what it is called in Japan. It used to be called Yakuza here, and then when they made Yakuza Like a Dragon, they just said, fuck it, we'll just call it Like a Dragon from now on. Kind of the same way that we got like Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. And then it was flipped in Japan that way. It's very funny. But yeah, like this is now, so this game is a remake of a game we never got over here, but this was a Yakuza / Like a Dragon game in Japan, but in a different timeline. So even though it has the same character models of the characters in Yakuza, these are.
Oh, is this the one in the Meiji era?
Yes, this is the Meiji era, Meiji Restoration. So like you have the character model of Majima in here. Like Majima is in this game, but it's not Majima, or it is Majima. I don't fucking know. But it's like, hey, what if we dunk these characters into this timeline, but they were actually from that timeline? It's not like they got sent through time.
Weird.
So I don't know if it's an ancestor or whatever, but basically they're going back to the old style of, or not going back. I mean, this game was originally like this, but it is not a turn-based RPG like Yakuza Like a Dragon was. It is more of the brawler style Yakuza games that you may have played before, but this is in the Meiji era of Japan. Anyway. Got a remaster. Looks pretty nice. I kind of dig it. It. I always feel like I feel like I have missed so much on that franchise. I've always wanted to go back and try some of these games. I did play the turn-based RPG for a while and had a good time, and just kind of fell off it because other stuff came out. But I've always kind of considered going back and playing that because that game had a lot of cool stuff in it. On the 22nd, Horizon Call of the Mountain comes to PS5, specifically PSVR 2. In fact, this coincides with the release date of PSVR 2. Bobby, you're a fan of Horizon, and you're a fan of VR. What do you think about all of that?
I think I'm not going to have a PSVR 2.
Sure.
So,
wow.
I don't think that this is going and I barely play I have a Quest 2, which it's fun, but it's not my preferred method for games. Like I enjoy the immersiveness. I'm really more curious about what this game does on expanding their universe closer to the multiplayer game they talked about that they're going to be working on. Which the more I'm hearing about that, it's sounding like they're going to straight up try and make that a live service game.
Okay.
Like a junior MMO. But I'm curious to see like how this coincides with not only that bigger story they're telling. Where does this take place in the story for Horizon Forbidden West? Is this before, after? Are you somebody that's been, I don't want to say radicalized, but somebody who's been inspired by Aloy in her pursuit? Has she stopped by and clearly it's a bow-based game.
Sure.
I don't know, man. Like, I
Do you
think
Aloy shows up in this game at some point and goes like, "Oh, hi, I'm Aloy," and then goes away? Or do you think they just kind of talk about her?
I would be surprised if I feel Sony's brazen enough to just like throw that scene in the trailer, like Aloy waving or doing the heart thing or whatever at the end of it. But I think this is more of like, have you heard about this thing that's happening from Aloy? We need to be supporting it. But I bet you seeing those monsters in VR will be impressive. And I bet you it'll be a fun, like, mechanical shooting experience, but I bet you it'll feel like shit to move around without getting sick.
Well, yeah. Just out of morbid curiosity, what is the last VR game you played?
The last one I played this year was Beat Saber, but the last new game I played on VR was I played Daimyo on there, and that was really fucking cool.
Brother-in-law John just bought that on his
that seems like a thing John would very much enjoy.
Oh, he was telling me like, you need to get this game. We got to play it. And I'm like, yes, I do. I need to get financially straight. But it definitely is that is a cool game. This looks cool too. Like I don't know if it's gonna sell PSVR 2, but you never know. Like maybe it'll I always feel like with VR games they need to hit like this sweet spot of like being smooth and like playable in a way that doesn't break that immersion or anything like that.
Like it needs to be playable, but at the same time, it needs to be more than just a shooting gallery.
Yes,
we have so many shooting gallery style VR games, and you got to have something with more substance than that. I know. I think a lot of people point to something like Half-Life Alyx as this is one of the better ones of these, but I don't feel like we've gotten more games like that, or even games that have gotten better than that.
Whereas VR gets a little close to that.
Sure, yeah. I'm not saying that there are no games, but you want, especially somebody like Valve, who's like, here is an example of what we think this hardware can do. Now go off and make cool stuff. And it feels like people have continued to, for the most part, make lowest common denominator VR stuff in increasingly different packages, and yet keeping basically the same kind of thing in there, which is shooting galleries, because your character can stay put and aim and look around, and those are the things that work. Or hey, we put you in a cockpit of something, so that feels like a thing because you're sitting down, right? And you won't get motion sick. But we just haven't really evolved past those kinds of experiences on VR yet, and that's one of the reasons, one of the many reasons I just do not feel that VR is in a good place right now, and certainly not in a place that I want to play VR stuff.
Yep, agreed.
Anyway, moving on. Also on the 22nd, Redemption Reapers comes to PC, Switch, and PS4. This is a turn-based strategy RPG, which I don't know if you guys know this, but those are the kinds of games I like to play. I don't love this setting, this kind of like gothic, Lord of the Ringsy, vampire-y stuff, fantasy shit, gothic fantasy. But I think this is a trailer that people should watch and also listen to and hear how the voiceover here talks through some of the strategy portions of this game, some of the features that they have here for the strategy, because it seems pretty deep and interesting in a way that even though I don't love the visuals or the setting, I'm kind of digging this. Like it seems like it's based around 4 characters, like a really like closer to something almost like Into the Breach, where you have this really small strike team and you're going in and they have their unique roles that they do and they're just going in and getting shit done. And it actually reminds me a lot more of Ghost Recon Shadow Wars on the 3DS, a 3DS launch game, and I love that game, and I like the idea of that here. Looking at it, I mean, I know Bobby pinned me in my comment that said I don't have to play this on Switch. In fact, I have multiple other devices that can play this really well. I don't know if I necessarily want to play this on Switch, but my question is, I don't know if this is gonna run well on Switch, right? Like,
no way, dude.
no, like the
No,
graphics
who
seem a
knows?
little too high res. I'm surprised it's coming to Switch at all.
Agreed.
That seems nuts to me. I don't
Agreed.
know. You know, turn-based games though, maybe there's not as much to process or something. Maybe it could work, but
People are doing surprising stuff on the Switch. Like we say like it's underpowered, but Fire Emblem Engage, it looks really good. Like it just needs like a good art style behind it. This might be stretching it a little bit, but who knows? Maybe they got a little bit of that magic engineering to make it run well.
could be. And I mean, it's also. I also mentioned it's PS4. It's not even a PS5 version.
Yeah.
So maybe there is something
interesting
under the hood here that isn't so intensive. But from a strategy perspective, having a small team and doing stuff, I think there's something kind of cool about this. On the 23rd, Company Heroes 3 is coming out for the PC. I've talked about Warlocked before on this here podcast and other podcasts, which is a Game Boy Color RTS. 2 words that don't really go together. But I still like that game. I've never played a Company Heroes. I've never played another real RTS game. I've got this fancy PC now that I'm recording this stuff on with you guys. I don't think Company Heroes is the one I want to play, but do you guys think there's an RTS game I should try now that I've got this thing?
Well, I mean, other than going back to like StarCraft or the first Red Alert.
Yeah, I don't want to play StarCraft. I just know I don't want to play StarCraft.
I would say the first Company of Heroes game. Like these are really good real-time strategy games. Like they take a lot of bit of like how like Relic does, the developer of these. I assume Relic is doing this one as well too.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. They like have a knack for just like how to use the terrain, like pretty much like how in Fire Emblem we have like avoidance, like using like things like the thickets and stone passages and stuff like that work like this. You have defilades, you have cover, like you do suppressing fire and things like that. It's a very well done kind of like World War II real time strategy game. Not as goofy as like Red Alert or base buildy as those kind of games.
Yeah.
These are kind of almost like I'm trying to remember. Like I haven't played the first game in like forever, but like they're kind of like small squad things. And I'm trying to remember if you do like you can build your own like units and stuff like that, or if it's just like mission based and you get set amount of things to use for each mission. But yeah, this one definitely has like a lot of base building. I can see that now. So yeah, it's I would say like the first Company of Heroes, you can get it for extremely cheap now on Steam and stuff like that. Yeah, it's one of the good like kind of strategy, take your time, think, and like how am I going to plan this out and like divide and conquer kind of games.
Nice. Bobby, any suggestions on your end?
Total War games.
Total War?
Oh, Total War, yes, definitely. But that's like a blend of real-time strategy and turn-based.
So I have Total War 3 Kingdoms. It is on the big wheel. So maybe someday it'll get chosen. That's one I want to try. I mean, I hear a lot of people talk about that Age of Empires. That seems to be one of those classic ones.
Get Age of Empires 2. That's an older one, but
Yeah.
it's still like one of those like just classic real-time strategy games.
I think that's closer to what I'm looking for. Like, I kind of like the building farms and building a barracks and that kind of stuff over the more military-ish ones.
Oh, they got
like
trade
modern
routes
military.
and all these diplomacy and stuff, but it's all built instead of like how the Total War series does it, where it's like,
Northgard.
oh well, you gotta do this whole section where it's like, there's diplomacy and everything. It's all contained within the real-time strategy map in Age of Empires. Like you're doing everything like that in one kind of gameplay flavor.
So I don't know the name of this game, but I remember going over to my friend's house in my neighborhood when we were in like middle school, and he played some RTS game, and I remember very little about it other than like he was running around a desert. It was medieval. He like had some dragons on his team, and he was just fucking up some guy, and I was like, this game looks so cool. And that's one of those lost games that I don't think I'll ever find because it's probably not even like it is in my head.
Maybe it's Age of Mythology or something like that.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I'd have to think back to like the timeline of like, okay, what RTS games were coming out around when I was in 5th grade or before, and figure that shit out. But I remember that game being really cool, and it being like, oh, that's a game I could never play because I don't have a PC. And that guy is a piece of shit, so I'm never going to talk to him again to find out for him. Yeah, I have Halo Wars and Halo Wars 2 downloaded because they're on Game Pass. It feels weird to play consoleized RTS games on a PC, so I don't know if I'd want to do that. I know they'd be very simple.
Battle for Middle Earth 2 instead. Like you don't need Halo Wars.
All right, something to think about. Anyway, Company of Heroes 3 comes out. Thanks, guys.
Let's wrap this up. It's fun. We've been going for over 2 fucking hours. Let's get this done.
Let's go quick here. On the 24th, Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe comes to Nintendo Switch. This is a port of the 2011 Wii game. I think it looks worse than it did originally. On the 24th as well, we're getting Octopath Traveler 2 for the PC, Switch, PS4, and PS5. We've talked about this game before, Bobby. You asked me like what would get me to play this game again. It would have to be real fucking good. That's the answer. Because that first game, not very good. I still love the way this thing looks, but it's gotta do something really good to get me back in. On the 28th, Dungeons of Aether comes out for PC. It looks like a cool little strategy thing. It's really hard to tell exactly how the mechanics work in a short trailer like this. Especially with it zooming around to these different things. I don't know what all these numbers mean.
Oh, damn, that's a shark pirate. Holy shit.
Yeah, like I kind of dig some of the little visuals it has going on here. It seems like it might be up my alley. We'll see. Unfortunately, though, I'll probably never know because also on the 28th is Destiny 2 Lightfall coming to PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. It's the new Destiny 2 expansion. This takes place on Neomuna on Neptune. There's a new subclass here with Strand. We'll talk about this when it comes out, much to Bobby's chagrin. And then also on the 28th, Scars Above comes to PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. It looks like Returnal.
Yes, very much so.
That's about it. My picks for this month are Destiny. It's Destiny. Everybody knew it was Destiny, and it is Destiny. But I might also play some of that Dungeon of Aether. And then again, if it gets absolutely glowing reviews, I could see myself getting Octopath 2, but it would have to be real fucking good. Bobby, what are your picks for this month?
Atomic Heart. Right there at the top. Wild Hearts is something I got a lot of heart this month. It's February.
Yeah.
And I am going to be checking out Hogwarts Legacy.
His heart grew 2 sizes that month. And then Jiggy, what do you got?
Company of Heroes 3, Octopath Traveler 2, and Like a Dragon Ishin.
Fantastic. Well,
And
we will.
Stealth Drop, Silk Song, gonna happen this week.
Yeah, sure, buddy.
Dark Horse.
Keep thinking that. Well, that is our monthly preview. Next month we will spin the wheel again for me. We will roast all of our picks, which might come true or might be really bad, and we'll make sure that we remember that Jiggy made these picks and not Johnny. Unless they're really bad, and then we'll probably just
they are Johnny's.
If they're
he
really
picked
bad,
them.
we'll just say they were Johnny's and make fun of him.
You
Again.
make sure he plays these fucking games I picked for him.
Yeah, there you go. He has to play all of these. I love that idea. He'll never finish them all. He'll never finish one of them, but he might play them. Bobby, I'm gonna throw it back to you. Take this mother home.
First and foremost, we want to say thank you to Jiggy, who is here tonight with us. You can find Jiggy. Well, it didn't really fully shout you out, but I think it gave you some stuff there.
Just twitch.tv/Giggysan or twitter.com/Giggysan with Giggyysan. That's all you need to know.
He does some incredible retro streams where you can hang out for very good vibes and just a very approachable, laid-back stream of some cool relics. Please do go say hello to him. And he's been on podcast with Chase that he'll call out here in a moment. And we're still trying to figure out how to get Jiggy on for a quick look. So we're going to be trying to figure out some time to coordinate there. As far as our show, if you want to follow along with what we've got going on, you can do so by hitting those links in chat or just going to the casual hour thecasualhour.com is where you can find all those things. You can see this week we were very busy. We played that power chord game I talked about earlier. Fire Emblem Engage, maybe you've heard of it. We've got a quick look in case you want to know more. Tonight was our February preview. We talked a lot about Hi-Fi Rush and Dead Space. So Hi-Fi Rush going up on Thursday is a quick look, and then right back here 10:30 p.m. Central on Friday night you can hang out with me as I work my way through the Ishimura, I think that's how you say it, scary spooky ship where I will fight off.
You're gonna look at it through your fingers, like
yes, I think that's
scary.
It. I'm gonna put on my VR headset to avoid it.
There you go.
And that's what's going on with us. Chase, for folks who want to know about you, how can they? What could they? Please help.
I would just say listen to Pilot Program, a show I do with my good friend Pierce Corshane, friend of the show. We're recording tomorrow our episode on In Living Color. That should go up this weekend. I'll give you a little preview. I think that's a pretty fun show.
Nice.
So yeah, we'll talk more about it and all that. That's on Pilot Program. You can look that up on your podcatcher of choice, and we'll be there.
Awesome. All right, y'all. This has been our show. Jiggy, thank you so much. Johnny, don't come back.
Thank you for having me.
And we will chat with you all soon. Take care.